great day to everyone. I am Irina Bailey, art fashion designer, and you are at the Airport of Fashion. Tonight, today, now, we are going to discover a very controversial thing. Is there any place for art in advertising? We are surrounded with advertising just every day of our life. And I'm having that kind of question all the time. Because I've got this art fashion blog, the Airport of Fashion. To discover that, I've invited to this studio two prominent experts with huge experience in advertising. It's Mrs. Irina Kuznetsova.
Hello.
And Mr. John Bailey.
Hello, my dear.
So both, they are J&I Advertising and PR. Welcome to the Airport of Fashion, guys.
Спасибо.
Welcome.
Thank you, my dear.
So, from the very beginning, I think that we need to figure out what actually does it mean, the art, the advertising, and the craftsmanship for you. So, let's start from advertising. Irina, what does advertising mean for you? Ladies first.
Я думаю, у нас в студии присутствует живой классик рекламы Джон. Просто как раз определение рекламы я всегда слышу от него последние уже XX лет, вот когда он объясняет клиентам действительно, для чего нужна реклама. Поэтому я бы передала слово ему.
Okay. Your wish is my command.
Okay.
Well, John, what does the term advertising mean for you?
Well, first and most importantly, it's a business tool. It's a business tool for marketing and sales departments of businesses. It's the most economic way of telling millions of people at the same time that you've got something for sale. That's simply what it is.
Yeah, I was taught that in Ogilvy.
Yeah. I mean, 150 years ago, businesses in the UK, which is my country, would employ thousands and thousands of salesmen to go from door to door, knock on the door and say, would you like to buy my soap? Would you like to buy my detergent? Would you like to buy my rouge, which is what ladies put on their faces in those days? But these days, you, as a client, have a salesman on every television screen or on every computer screen, in every home in the country.
True.
I can only think of one organisation that still employs day-to-day salesmen, and that's the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Silence.
That's it. That's my answer.
As usual, you put it very short and very sharp. Well, then what does the term craftsmanship mean? I mean,
Craftsmanship. Well, that's the skill with pictures, or with words and pictures, with which an advertisement is put together, is created. It's the same as a potter making a pot. Some pots are terrible, and they didn't have the skills. But some pots are the most beautiful things because that potter had the skill in his hands to make that perfect shape. And advertising is that. It is a combination of words and pictures. Sometimes, and music. I should, of course, include music as part of the mixture.
Thank you. Irina, what is craft or craftsmanship for you?
Это интересно, потому что как раз крафт было достаточно недавно добавлено как вот отдельная категория в рекламные конкурсы. Обычно реклама всегда или креативные фестивали связаны только с идеей, но есть также понятие, как эта идея исполнена, мастерство. И здесь вкладываются совсем другие ресурсы. Где-то это арт-дирекшн, где-то это постпродакшн, где-то это шлифовка деталей, мелочей, и они иногда производят настолько сильное впечатление, что люди смотрят на рекламу и думают, да, в принципе, идея обычная, но ты получаешь эстетическое удовольствие, когда ты смотришь на нее как на произведение искусства. Это крафт.
So, what does art mean for you, John?
Well, surprisingly, I think art and advertising are much closer than people think. You see, they're both designed to send a message. And, for instance, in the Italian Renaissance, there were thousands of pictures painted, all of which were designed to sell the church. And all were designed to keep people with their religion and to keep going to the church. The intention of the artist and the advertiser can be to give pleasure to your senses, to your eyes, to your taste. I mean, the purpose of all food advertising is surely to make you hungry. The purpose of art in its naturalistic form is to make you appreciate the beauty of a flower, for instance. But both art and advertising is also there to shock and surprise you.
Wow, so art should shock and surprise.
Some artists choose to shock and surprise you. I can show you many pictures, and I'm sure we can find them to accompany what I'm saying, that shock and surprise you. And equally in advertising, don't expect a commercial that's trying to persuade you to wear your car seat belts to give you a very pleasant feeling. And consider this, all those elegant marble statues, busts, Roman busts, that now occupy every museum in the world, those noble, upstanding, heroic busts of handsome. These were originally advertisements. Every Roman
thought about like that before.
Every Roman senator commissioned a bust to make him look handsome, forward, brave, intelligent, but kind, because the intention was, vote for me. And please keep voting for me. And that's why they were up in squares in Roman piazzas, these leaders. They were political advertisements. But now, of course, we think of them as art. But they originally were not.
In a way, I agree with you, because for me, art, that's some very, very unusual things that you can't learn, or learn like you can't study it, you can't be taught being the artist or do something, do your art objects.
Well,
and that's how you can't learn to be, for example, creative in advertising, because you can't learn such things. So creativity can't be learned in a way.
Well, it can in advertising, but certainly I do believe that there is such a thing when you are a painter or a sculptor or a potter. There is a natural talent. You know, God gives you the gift to draw. I can't draw, although I was trained.
You can. You just do it in your own character, John.
Yes, but that's not.
Don't be too modest.
It isn't.
Come
it
on.
isn't.
You're
it
not
isn't.
like that.
But you see some people and they can just draw. Wait till we come to my choice of my own personal painting that I like, and you'll see what I mean.
Don't go forward. You know the script, honey.
No, but that's not a problem. It's not a problem. Anyway.
John spoils the whole show.
No, you can cut it out if you want.
Why? As if we are live.
Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that art and advertising are much more similar than you think.
Насчет терминологии, арт, вот как я задумалась, это самовыражение. Мы пытаемся себя выразить. Кто через что может, там, через рисунок, песня, поэзия, искусство. И есть интересный момент. Да.
Я обратила внимание,
но
очень
это арт,
приятно,
да?
очень приятно.
Но интересно, что вот есть момент, например, ребенка. У него арт, он самовыражается по полной катушке, обрисовывая все вокруг. Но это не реклама, вот, потому что окружающие, особенно которые живут в этом помещении, хотят его прибить за количество испорченного имущества. Вот, но арт становится близок к рекламе, когда художник перестает рисовать просто для того, чтобы самовыражаться, а задает себе вопрос, чего он хочет достичь своим артом. вот этот момент, когда Джон говорил шок, или это средство для того, чтобы донести какую-то определенную мысль. То есть это не просто шокировать, или чтобы просто напугать. И вот он вынашивает в себе какую-то идею, и он хочет, чтобы окружающие прочувствовали эту идею и думали точно так же. Вот. И в этом плане арт очень близко подходит к рекламе, которая преследует, вот именно те же цели.
Very good to the point of my next question, Irina. Thank you very much. So, the painter or the sculptor or other representatives of art, so artistic personalities, they've got time and they've got inspiration, and then when it coincides, they produce something shocking and amazing, and everybody says, "Oh, it's art." But generally speaking, advertising, it's actually creativity developed by demand. You don't have so much time as the artist to think about an idea, to produce this idea into something, into some art object. So, how does it happen that you can make creativity, you can be creative by commercial demand? How does it happen in advertising?
Shall
Because creativity is from the word to create.
Well,
Create, you are creator. So it's very high.
well, I think the first thing is, are you interested in fellow human beings? That's the first thing. Are you interested in psychology? Because a lot of advertising, you have to understand people, and people who are not like you. You have to be able to write for a 45-year-old housewife in Ukraine, or a 45 housewife in the UK, or as a 45-year-old housewife in Kenya. And I've had to do all three of those things in my career. And yes, they're all women. They all have the same basic aims in life at that age. You know, they've probably already got children, and their worries and their concerns are the same, but they're different societies. And so you have to be interested in those similarities and those small differences. Let me give you an example. Sex. Okay, sex. The way sex is tolerated in different societies. Now, in your society, what I've observed is that you can show a girl with virtually no clothes on if she's covered here and she's covered here.
Okay.
In other words, a girl in a bikini is fine.
Okay.
In Scandinavia, in Sweden and Norway, it's perfectly okay to show people without anything on at all in advertising, and they don't.
They are Vikings. They can
They
allow
don't
themselves
turn.
anything.
They don't turn. You know, they don't even worry about it. In Kenya, which is a highly religious society, as poor countries often are, if a girl has the sleeve of her dress higher than that on television, the complaint letters will start.
Okay.
Because she's showing too much of her charms. Just to there. There is okay.
So your creativity should be under the control of culture as
You
well.
have to, of course.
You have so many restrictions.
Well,
to create advertising,
no things
you
to
know?
make it interesting, because you see, essentially, you have to be the kind of person who likes doing crossword puzzles, or likes doing, brain teasers, because advertising is done in here. Only later is it done with your pen or your paintbrush or your movie camera, or only later.
The most frightening thing for creative person is what in
A
advertising agency?
blank sheet of paper.
Blank sheet.
Where do I start?
But also the most challenging and interesting. I would say, but in Russian, что нам, наверное, в рекламе проще, чем артист таким, потому что они должны сами себе тему придумать, и какую проблему они будут решать, и на что они будут влиять. Нам тему и проблему задает клиент, но она формулируется в виде именно проблемы и вопроса. И вот здесь начинается самое интересное, как ты ответишь на этот вопрос. Потому что, да, есть ограничители, но с другой стороны, ты не знаешь моментального ответа. Вот именно этот белый лист, как у художника, присутствует.
And you don't know, is it the right answer or not?
Нет, и вот как Джон любит говорить, что advertising is indefinite science, where 2 plus 2 can be 4, 5, 6, etc. Да. Поэтому это самое интересное, потому что ты сам не знаешь. Вот начинает это все в тебе вариться, день, 2, неделя. Вот, иногда первая мысль оказывается самая удачная, и ты думаешь, я вернусь к ней. Вот, а иногда это приходит переосмысление, и вот все то, что наварилось, потом как озарение во что-то выливается, и ты себя, да, чувствуешь, что ты действительно создаешь. Вот, и все самое интересное происходит именно в этот период, потому что потом ты презентовал, клиент сказал, что все гениально, но 5 комментариев, и здесь креативность умерла. Вот, но все, что было до этого, оно прям вот чистый процесс создания самой гениальной вещи. Поэтому мы переживаем это постоянно, и это здорово, потому что мы переживаем это, там, за месяц приходят десятки брифов, поэтому мы каждый день находимся в состоянии вот этого созидания, и это как раз самое интересное в нашей работе.
Can I say that the difference between art and creative advertising, process, that for example, for the painter, the hardest critic, the most horrible critic is himself or herself, and for advertising creative process, the hardest critic is yourself and the client. So you've got 2 fields, 2 healths actually,
and
between that is creativity in advertising.
And 8 ladies who killed your idea during focus group, don't forget about them.
The 6 housewives.
Because when you and the client believed in the idea, they would spoil everything.
Okay, then, knowing all that, now we talk, knowing all that you've just told us. Does advertising have the ability to create something like art? Does it have that ability? John?
Oh yes, but it doesn't happen very often. But yes, because what we're going to show in the process of this blog are some commercials that Ira and I consider art.
Of course.
But you see, creating art isn't our primary intention.
Mm-hmm.
The purpose of an artist is primary intention to create art, and as Ira already pointed out, with as much time as they wish to take. We have an old saying in London advertising, which was, do you want it good or do you want it Thursday? And we are, of course, commercially limited all the time. Ira was earlier talking about how many ideas one can have. Well, the number of right ideas is infinite, but it's, of course, restricted by the time that you have to think of them. But oh yes, advertising can be art. Advertising.
Irina,
да.
you have something to add?
Да, потому что и арт может быть адвертайзингом и рекламой в том числе, потому что есть очень интересные параллели, вот если задуматься. Например, вот в рекламе один из запросов – это разработать идентику. Вот, идентику.
То есть логотип, я просто объясняю.
Визуальный стиль. Вот у нас одна из работ, тоже там мы проект выиграли в тендере, один из таких наиболее ценных проектов и работ, потому что это касалось социального проекта. British Council, это можно называть?
Конечно.
Хорошо.
Для людей. I am the queen in my blog,
да.
So.
Проект для людей с инвалидностью в искусстве. И визуально тяжело подавать такую вещь. А здесь задача была, наоборот, сделать все визуальные материалы, там, приглашение на мероприятия, постеры, коммуникацию яркой, привлекательной, так, чтобы ты хотел посетить ее. И мы разработали там компанию, которую там, вы можете увидеть. И это была просто яркая желтая полоса, которую пробивал вот этот человек как, с инвалидностью в искусстве, танцор, художник. Это прорыв, его прорыв, в данном случае прорыв в отношении. И если задуматься, ну вот эта желтая полоса, она стала сквозной коммуникацией года, 2-3, она используется во всех материалах. Это некий узнаваемый быстрый символ, и он присутствует у многих художников. Там, вот если брать эту японку Яёи Кусама, которая точки рисует. И потом, кстати, в рекламе часто стиль используют. Рой Лихтенштейн. Чтобы быстро стать узнаваемым, он себе тоже набил стиль комиксов и мелких точек. Вот. И все вот компании, которые он делает, люди видят и говорят: о, это Рой Лихтенштейн, идентика. Энди Уорхол, весь вот этот сегмент поп-культуры, он...
reads this symbolic science as the language, this special style, this language belongs to that artist, or that artist, or that artist.
Да, потому что Кит Харвин, которые человечки, их наоборот, потом они становятся коммерческими, берут арт-стиль. Да тот же Поллок, который рисовал пятнами, это все вот это идет идентика. То есть они прям непосредственно связаны. И эта задача всегда рекламы. Сделайте наш бренд узнаваемым.
But why do you think one commercials, one advertising campaigns do become art and some of them don't? Does it depend on the client? Does it depend on creativity of the agency? Where is that equilibrium, you know, of truth, if I can put it like that?
Well,
John, what do you think?
I think it's, in my own career, it's just been a happy accident that it turned out as art, or close to art. Because all I was ever trying to do was to solve the advertising problem. And just occasionally, I've solved the advertising problem so well that it actually got close to art. But I can't do it, and certainly I can't do it now at the age I am, but you can't do it to order. You know, even the greatest copywriters and art directors that we've seen over the last 50 years, they fucked it up too, occasionally, you know.
Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's not.
Say.
In fact,
even the genius artists, they also have their own mistakes. Their own failures, I should say.
Well, even a bad painting sends you a message, and that's this person. This person can't paint. So it's a imprecise science. As is art. Art is a totally imprecise science. I don't think any artist knows when they start putting the first paint on the canvas if it's going to be any good at the end of the process or not. They can have no idea whether it will be or not.
Very familiar to me, frankly speaking. Irina, do you...
Я согласна с Жоном.
To put the line, yes, and that part of our conversation. So where does advertising and art begin? Or where does art and advertising begin? So can you answer that question, Irina?
Да, я могу. Я думаю, что в тот момент, когда потребитель что-то чувствует, вот, меняет свою точку зрения, реклама была искусством. Ну, а искусство было рекламой. И вот если он ничего не чувствует, остался равнодушным, не заметил, это не искусство, все, это трэш.
Irina is very short with us in answers. Okay, John, so what do you think?
I think advertising and art overlap, but it's a very thin line. The border is a very thin one. And this side of the border, there are millions of paintings that we'll never see that are terrible. And on that side of the border, there are millions of television commercials that we'll never remember because they were terrible. And so, a long time ago now, but in my country, they did a huge piece of research. I think it was in 2001 or... And anyway, what it was, they researched which were the most memorable commercials of the year. And my country generates thousands of television commercials every year. And so they did this piece of research, and the conclusions were that only 8% of the commercials were remembered. This is after a 12-month period. And of those 8%, 5% of them were intensely disliked. In other words, people remembered them because they fucking hated them.
Because they hated them.
And I suppose you could say that 3 remaining percent, the ones that were remembered very fondly, and with positive emotions, were art. But 3% out of 100%, that's not many, is it?
True, it's really true.
And that's also true about paintings. We have some friends who will
You will
not.
Remember only the worst of them.
We have some friends. No, look, it's their hobby, it's their enjoyment, But I just wish they'd stop giving their paintings to us.
Cut that.
No, of course.
Friends who paint.
This is only for home video.
No.
Oh my god.
And of course you have to be polite. You go, oh, that's wonderful. As soon as they've gone, you throw it out the fucking window.
No, we don't.
You're going to cut all this. You're going to cut all this anyway.
They
So it doesn't matter.
all loved and cared, so don't worry, John is joking. Irina, on this stage of our conversation, I would like to ask you what, on your opinion, by your mind, is the best J&I advertising and PR agency, best commercial? Or advertising campaign, or PR campaign. Advertising campaign, let's put it like that.
Однозначно ответить сложно, потому что это вот тот же момент, какая там для тебя лучшая песня или блюдо или еще что-то. Мое личное ощущение, что для меня важно в рекламе. Есть какой-то небольшой процент рекламы, которая меняет твое поведение в лучшую сторону, делает тебя лучшим человеком. И вот незначительный процент рекламы, но для меня она самая ценная, потому что я говорю, что потенциально я вот пытаюсь менять мир в лучшую сторону. Поэтому любимая реклама — это социальная. Делалась она для клиента, который с социальной активностью против брошенных животных. Очень была интересная задача. Нам надо было поддержать, чтобы животных не выбрасывали. Животное заводят, часто и относятся к нему как к ребенку, правда? Мы все знаем об этом. Да. Поэтому мы показали брошенных детей. Детей, которых выбросили на улицу. И интересно, что эту кампанию мы сделали несколько лет назад. Она получила награды на международных фестивалях, но на Фейсбуке у нас до сих пор репостят эту рекламу. Ты понимаешь, что оно прям сработало, так, как ему нужно было сработать. Так что поэтому это я считаю, это такой лучшей рекламой.
Wow, bravo, bravissimo. So now we can relax. No more hard questions. So, John.
My drink is empty.
So far.
Yes.
Okay, so, John, what is your favorite ad campaign you personally ever done?
I thought the question, sorry to break through, but I thought the question was, where does salesmanship in advertising transfer into art?
We already passed that question.
Okay.
John, we are spontaneous. That's what I told you.
Okay, all right then. Well, you can cut all this.
Question by question.
You can cut all this out. Hang on. Wait a minute. Oh, fuck. Hang on a minute.
Thanks God we are not live. Really.
No, I could do
Or
that.
maybe not.
I could. Nothing is live these days.
No, we are live so far.
So, what's the question again, Ira, that you want to ask?
So, John, what is your favorite advertising campaign you personally ever done in your life, which you can consider as art in advertising?
Well, I will tell you the 3 favourite things that I ever did in my career. Only one is art, and that's the last one I'll describe. But when I said do you like solving crossword puzzles, or do you like understanding a society? The first crossword puzzle was, how do I advertise the benefits of a margarine, this is in Africa, in Kenya, to the country when most of the country, or a lot of the country, has no electricity and therefore no televisions. It has radios, but only with batteries. But certainly everyone's home doesn't have electricity. But what every Kenyan country home has is a box of matches to light the fire. So in order to advertise this margarine, we printed especially 13 million boxes of matches, and the advertising message was on the back of the matchbox. That's one thing I'm particularly proud of.
Simply but genius distribution of craft, of
The craft, if you
Yeah.
like. Not art,
But
craft.
there is art. What have you done?
Oh no, I want to tell you the second one that I was very proud of, because this is about understanding the psychology of the country. We had Kenya Airways as a client in Kenya, and they had ordered 3 brand new Boeing 767s, not fourth-hand aircraft, as I'm afraid Ukraine International fly, where you see the Spanish crossed out on the toilet door because they're bought from other airlines. These were 3 brand new ones from Boeing in Seattle. And we took a huge double-page spread in the local newspapers, and it said, "They're here, our new Boeing 767s, and they're ours." And those 3 words, those 3 simple little words, "they're ours" and "they're ours," touched the heart of the nation, because it gave them something to be proud about. You know, this is a country that is not, you know, it's a third world country. But
I will cry now.
to give them something to be actually nationally proud of. Apart from their athletes, that was the only other thing they had in the world to be proud of. The fact that they have amazing runners and amazing athletes. And that was the second most wonderful thing I did.
So, and what is the
But the art thing,
the top?
the art thing was that in 1981, my then art director and I did the UK calendar for Guinness, you know, the famous Irish black beer. And we took a famous British illustrator, cartoonist of the 1920s, whose name was W. Heath Robinson, and thought, how would he have illustrated the 12 stages of making Guinness? How would he have done it? Unfortunately, of course, he'd been dead for 50 years. So what we found was an illustrator who could copy his style perfectly, which he did. We got the descendants of his family's permission, and they approved all the artwork. And I think while I'm speaking, you'll see some examples of this calendar. And the result was, I won awards all over the world, really, in every design and art direction festival. Although I'm a copywriter, I didn't mind, you know, sharing the glory. Except it was my idea to do this. And I think that is art, because he was an artist and we just copied him. But we copied him transparently. Everyone knew it was a copy. But
So
it was,
you invented the new story.
yes, and it was an affectionate...
You pushed it.
This artist was part of British culture, much loved as a quirky, funny illustrator from the 1920s. And obviously our calendar was a tribute to him. It wasn't a piece of stealing an idea. And that, I think, was the nearest thing I've ever come to art.
Did you buy copyright of his?
Oh, well, his family, the descendants of the original illustrator's family, gave us permission to do it, and they were absolutely thrilled and delighted with the result. And of course, I think they got paid some money, but I wasn't part of the negotiation between Guinness and themselves.
Rumors.
But that's in terms of art, that's the nearest I've done.
Irina, is there any commercials that you are envy that, oh, I wish I did it, oh!
Это, собственно, ролик Люрпак. Он тоже задавал, наверное, стиль достаточно многим агентствам в Украине. With the Magic. потому что там, собственно говоря, агентство подошло к очень правильному инсайту, просто женщина на кухне. Вот. Ну и все, ну женщина на кухне, для нее это рутина, она каждый день на кухне, какой ужас, это все это. Вот. А они как раз решили сказать, что да нет, когда женщина сама на кухне, то случается волшебство. Она просто волшебница, и вся ее кухня – это волшебный мир. Они просто взяли реальные объекты на кухне и начали творить с ними безумные вещи. К счастью, с нами в Украине на проекте, одном из проектов работала фуд-стилист. И когда она рассказала историю, ну вот я так, это просто такая компания, что там для меня это лучший ролик. Она говорит, да неудивительно, потому что она наоборот всегда делалась. Агентство обычно придумала идею, нарисовала, там, сделала сториборд, и потом по кадрам сняли ролик. Она говорит, здесь было все наоборот, дали кухню. И агентство поставило камеру, вот, дали камеру, несколько камер, и дали им несколько дней. И они вот творили безумство на кухне, они экспериментировали с объектами. И после этого агентство село, отсмотрело весь материал, выбрала волшебные кадры и из них создала сториборд. Представляешь? Ну, то есть вообще, ну, совершенно, да, так как мы, и вот, когда она все это рассказала, ну, понятно, а там был, конечно, дополнительно удивительный голос диктора, который рассказал историю, также волшебно про это, и ты прям чувствуешь вот до мурашек, когда это...
In this place of pots and pans and slightly blunt knives lives the cook. Not for her the ready meal. The cook weaves magic. The kind that brings people to her door. This isn't hocus pocus. The cook has powers, imagination, fearlessness, a pinch of faith, and a good measure of Lurpak butter. Yes, this is the cook in her place of her pots and her pans.
Wow. I've got, you know, this.
Goosebumps.
Thank you.
You've all learned a bit of English from me, haven't you?
So, John, do you have any commercial like that?
Thousands of commercials I envy over the years. Thousands of them. But I've always found, you know, and I've travelled and worked in lots of countries, that a sense of humour is a great way of getting a consumer on your side in advertising. Because I've always believed that if a consumer looks at your commercial and likes it for what it is, then they're predisposed to buying your product or considering your product. Now, you can't use humour in every product category. You know, I mean, Ira and I have launched over the years several health clinics. These are not a funny subject. You know, you don't use humour with a health clinic. But in many categories, humour is a great thing to use. It's not an easy thing to pull off. You know, humour is not as easy as it looks by any means. But the commercial that you're going to show people watching this blog now.
Hey, Melissa, the whales need your help.
I love whales! Go, Melissa! Let's protect those whales!
Is genuinely funny, really funny. And just for people who don't know, Melissa McCarthy is a well-known in America actress and comedienne. So it makes perfect sense to cast her in this particular film in the way they do. And just in case you don't get the message, it says, don't worry about the ecology, don't worry about the environment, drive this car because it's very ecological.
The ice caps are in trouble. Hey, Melissa, Irina. Now the rhinos need saving.
Rhinos!
It's hard to be an eco-warrior, but it's easy to drive like one.
That's the message of the
You've already done something for the nature,
Yes,
driving that car.
Absolutely. You don't have to be an eco-warrior yourself.
You are driving that car.
You are an eco-warrior by driving this car.
Talking about art in advertising, I think that what I've heard already is that when there is tandem between client and the agency, when they accept, this, this two planets, yes, when they're in harmony, so that's when you have the chance to make art in advertising. Do you agree with that?
Well, you have the chance, but it's not your prime intention, ever. You don't go, which piece of art am I going to do today then? Whereas an artist does. The primary intention of a painter or a sculptor is to create something, a piece of art. Our primary intention is never that. It's accidental if we do.
So, putting again the line to our conversation, please, tell me about your favorite piece of art in any category. So, Irina, what is your favorite piece of art?
Есть поразительный художник Рене Магрит, который вот прям по нему можно учиться делать рекламу, потому что вот он использует, наверное, все эти парадоксальные, визуально парадоксальные вещи, которые нужны для того, чтобы тебя зацепить, выхватить твое внимание и заставить тебя думать, начинать думать. И начиная там, например, с пня, который удерживает топор, чтобы этот топор не вырубил другие деревья. У него удивительные есть вещи, когда там в рекламе часто пользуются приемами перевертышей. Вот, и он, например, русалку перевернул наоборот. Вот, у нее голова рыбы, а ноги женщины, и это ужасно. Вот, и вот он играет с этим. Вот как в рекламе мы очень часто, а что если там перевернуть объект, поменять местами, вот, драматизировать, и он прям все это делает, и вот им можно вдохновляться, и он и умный, и проницательный, вот, и все знают картину «Котелок с зеленым яблоком», да, это все он.
Oh, the most famous of his work.
Да.
Yeah. John, what is your word about your favorite piece of art?
Well, I'm going to be very English and patriotic and say that David Hockney is one of probably my favourite painter of all time, but especially his portraits. And if while I'm talking you can show some of his portraits, that would be great, Ira. You've never met the people he has painted, and you never will, but when you look at his portraits you instantly know them. You feel you know that person, or if not them, oh, I know someone like that. I was referring earlier to some people who are just gifted, and David Hockney can draw. My God, can he draw, and my God, can he paint. His paintings are like drawings. Drawings are like paintings. They kind of merge between the two. So David Hockney.
Great. And as cherry on the top, guys, it's such a pleasure to talk to you. So cherry on the top, please, your favorite commercials and why they are favorite. Any commercial, from any category, from any time. Irina, please comment. What is your favorite commercial?
Ну, наверное, спонтанно манифест Apple. Все-таки, хвала безумцам.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Это вот прям top of mind. И, конечно, из-за копирайта, потому что я копирайтер. Ну вот, и это гениальный текст, вот, который будет гениальным в любое время.
Thank you. John?
Because you are my wife, you've allowed me two choices.
It's called blood in Russian.
And these are two of my favourite commercials. My first choice actually proves my point that if you like the ad just for what it is, you'll want to find out more about the product. And this commercial is called Dance Pony Dance. And it's for a little English website that sells cell phones, SIM cards, but also sells apps, applications. And this commercial is just a demonstration of what one of these applications can do, that you could do yourself.
Silly games that you can play in application or some...
No, but the point
editing.
about the Dance Pony Dance is that you could make a pony dance with an app that you could buy from this website.
Can you hear me calling out your name? You know that I'm falling and I don't know what to say. I speak a little louder, I'll even shout. You know that I'm proud and I can't get the words out. I wanna be with you everywhere. I wanna be with you everywhere.
It's charming. It's absolutely beautiful. My
What is the second one?
My second commercial is right at the other end of the masterpieces of advertising. It's a commercial for Stella Artois, and it's called Monks on Ice. And I really don't have to tell you what it's about because there are no words in this commercial. Just an amazingly story, beautifully cast and beautifully told, and a wonderful soundtrack that helps you understand the story. And again, it's a British commercial. I'm afraid I'm being very patriotic in your website, but there we are.
Thank you very much. So today the Airport of Fashion was, on the area of art, then we jumped to the area of craftsmanship, then we jumped to the area of advertising, where salesmanship rules this world of advertising. But anyway, every time we were coming back to creativity. So I'm very grateful to my guests at the Airport of Fashion, to Irina Kuznetsova
Спасибо, Ива.
and John Bailey.
Nice to see you and good night.
They're
Or good day.
two partners in crime, and both they are J&I Advertising and PR agency. I'm Irina Bailey, so please, you very brave people, very happy people, please take care of yourself and dare to create, and come fly with me.